Right. Welcome back, everybody. Today we are going to deep dive into something that's been unfolding really quickly, and that's, yeah, the pretty traumatic shakeup happening at USAID.
Yeah.
Just a quick refresher, USAID handles America's humanitarian efforts and development projects around the world.
Yeah.
So, kind of a big deal. And, well, we've got some, we got some big questions here
Right.
swirling around because Trump and his allies are making some moves that, make it look like they're really determined to reshape this organization.
Yeah.
But what does that actually mean for the people who depend on USAID? And what's Elon Musk's role in all of this? It's wild.
Yeah, I think wild is a pretty good word for it. It's a very complicated situation. And you've got these major figures like Elon Musk coming in, and the potential consequences are huge. This is bigger than just D.C.
Right. And it's not just the big names involved. It's the way it's all happening. For example, Musk's new Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE.
Right.
They've been making waves,
Yeah.
And especially with their intrusion into USAID headquarters. What do you make of that?
Well, that specific incident at headquarters is pretty alarming, to be honest.
Yeah.
Reports indicate that DOGE officials, some with limited security clearances, demanded access to secure areas. They even wanted to get into a SCIF.
Wow.
Which is a seriously classified facility.
Yeah.
This brings up huge concerns about security breaches.
Of course.
And potentially misuse of really sensitive information.
And USAID officials weren't just letting them walk all over them, right? They pushed back.
Exactly. They did not just sit back. John Voorhees, he was the top security guy at USAID.
Yeah.
Him and his deputy were reportedly put on leave, administrative leave,
Wow.
after trying to enforce security protocols.
Right.
They were trying to prevent unauthorized access, right? This kind of action, taking action against people who are just trying to uphold security procedures, is very unusual.
Yeah.
It really adds to all these questions swirling around DOGE. Like, what are their intentions?
Yeah.
And how much is the administration supporting what they're doing?
Okay, so we've got DOGE pushing boundaries. We've got security officials being sidelined.
Yeah.
This is starting to sound like a spy movie.
A little bit, yeah.
Let's back up for a sec. What's driving this whole thing? Like, what's behind this big push to reshape or maybe even totally get rid of USAID?
Well, to understand that, I think we got to zoom out and look at the bigger picture.
Okay.
President Trump has been a big America First guy for a long time.
Right.
And it seems like this idea is kind of bleeding into how he thinks about foreign aid, too. He's made comments, things like saying USAID is run by, and I quote, radical lunatics.
Huh.
That and just his general hints at making big changes, well, it all suggests a shift to a more, let's say, transactional view of foreign aid. Like, assistance should be based on what's good for the U.S., not just on humanitarian need.
Yeah, that's a pretty significant shift. I imagine it's got folks worried both at USAID and in the countries depending on their help.
Oh, absolutely. And it doesn't help that the administration's not exactly being clear about things.
Right.
I mean, USAID's online presence, gone. Website, social media, poof.
Wow.
Personnel, purged or put on leave. And the agency's future. It's a big, fat question mark.
So we've got a president who wants to shake things up, a tech CEO with, his own agenda and access, and an agency that's just kind of hanging in the balance.
Yeah.
What does it all mean for the people USAID is supposed to be helping?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're going to dig into next. We need to talk about the human impact of all this, what the consequences might be for, international relations.
Right.
And what it says about America's role in the world.
Right, because at the end of the day, this isn't about budgets and politics. It's about real people's lives. Stay with us as we explore this more after a quick break.
Yeah, these potential ramifications, they're huge. I mean, this shift in U.S. foreign policy, it's a lot.
Yeah, it's really easy to get lost in all the political stuff happening. We got to remember the people who really depend on USAID's.
Yeah.
So, paint a picture for us. What's the scope here?
USAID's work, it's everywhere. It's so diverse. I mean, they do everything.
Yeah.
You've got emergency food aid in war zones, supporting farmers in developing countries, fighting HIV/AIDS.
Yeah.
Their programs, they impact millions of people around the world.
Wow.
Often, the people who are most vulnerable, the people who are in desperate need.
So, like, if these programs get messed up or shut down completely,
Right.
what does that actually look like for people on the ground?
Okay, so imagine a community in, say, sub-Saharan Africa
Okay.
that depends on USAID for clean water
Yeah,
or medicine. If that support vanishes, poof, it's gone.
right.
You could see preventable diseases come back,
Wow.
more malnutrition. People are way more vulnerable to natural disasters.
It's hard to even imagine. And this isn't happening in isolation. Like, the world's got a ton of crises right now.
Hmm.
Climate change, wars,
Yeah.
economic instability.
Right.
All of that just makes humanitarian needs even worse.
Exactly. And USAID has been super important in dealing with these crises. I mean, they provide crucial help to people affected by all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Conflict, disasters, poverty.
Right.
If it's dismantled,
Right.
or even if it's just seriously cut back,
Yeah.
that leaves a massive void, and the need is already bigger than ever.
Yeah. We also got to factor in those ripple effects on, international relations. Foreign aid isn't just like altruism, right?
Right.
It's a way for the U.S. to build relationships, keep things stable, advance its interests abroad.
That's it. Many countries really rely on USAID. And I'm not just talking humanitarian aid, it's development projects,
Yeah.
economic assistance, even security cooperation. If that aid is cut off or slashed, it could really damage relationships and weaken U.S. influence globally.
For instance, a country like Ukraine,
Yeah.
which has been relying on U.S. aid to shore up its defenses, if that's suddenly reduced or cut off, the whole balance of power of that region is affected.
Absolutely. And it's not just the immediate impact either.
Right.
Think about the long term. If the U.S. is seen as unreliable, it erodes trust. It can hurt long-standing alliances. This policy shift could send shockwaves through the international community. It could create instability, leaving vulnerable populations even more exposed.
So we've got this potential human cost, the impact on international relations. But there's another part of this whole thing that we should unpack. What happens if USA isn't completely dismantled?
Mm-hmm.
We've heard some talk about merging it with another agency, maybe the State Department.
Right, there's been that talk.
Yeah.
Some people say merging it with state could make things more efficient.
Streamline it.
Yeah, streamline it.
Yeah.
But there are some pretty big concerns that it could actually make things messier, less effective.
How so?
Well, USAID has been criticized in the past. Transparency and accountability, those have been issues.
Okay.
Some critics say merging it with state would make it even more vulnerable to political influence,
Uh-huh.
less focused on its core mission, the humanitarian assistance, the development work. So instead of helping people in need, it becomes another tool for politics.
And wouldn't that go against the whole streamlining government idea, which is what DOGE is supposed to be about, right?
Exactly. That's a good point. And it shows the contradictions in all this. On one hand, you've got this efficiency and cutting waste rhetoric,
Yeah.
but the actions seem likely to just create more bureaucracy and undermine the goals they say they're going for.
Yeah, it's a mess. And it's easy to lose sight of the fact that there are people's lives caught up in all this.
Yeah.
Families struggling, communities rebuilding after disasters, refugees. Their stories matter.
You're absolutely right. It's not about USA or American foreign policy. It's about the values we as a nation say we stand for.
Yeah.
Helping those in need, promoting stability in the world, and being responsible with taxpayer money. What we decide to do about USI will have big consequences.
Yeah.
Not just for the agency, but for the millions it serves, and for how America is seen on the world stage.
All right, deep divers. That was a lot to cover today. This story's not over yet. Where do we go from here? How do we stay in the loop and make our voices heard? We'll dive into that after a quick.
We talked about the potential fallout, but it can feel like a lot, you know? What can we actually do? It's not like we're the ones making the decisions.
True, but that doesn't mean we're powerless.
Right.
We live in a democracy. We can hold our leaders accountable, and we can demand transparency.
Okay.
It starts with staying informed, right? Follow good news sources. Try to understand all the different viewpoints on this.
So not just, scrolling through headlines all day. What does informed action look like here?
It means, like, really thinking about the impact of these decisions. Think about the communities relying on USAID.
Yeah.
Their stories need to be told. Their needs can't be ignored.
So how do we make sure those stories are heard by the people who can actually change things?
Talk about it. Share what you learn with people, friends, family, colleagues.
Yeah. Reach out to your elected officials. Tell them what you think. Tell them you're worried about how this might affect vulnerable people around the world.
Right.
Remind them that foreign aid isn't just about charity. It's about global stability. It's about national security. It's about sticking to American values.
So knowledge is power. The more people understand the issue, the more they can advocate for, good solutions.
Exactly. And don't forget, there are organizations out there doing amazing work, providing help, working on sustainable development. You can help them out too. Donations, volunteering, even just spreading the word about what they do.
Okay, so stay informed, have those tough conversations, reach out to your representatives, and support the organizations doing good work.
That's a good plan.
Seems like a good plan.
And look, the future of USAID is uncertain. That's the reality. But this is something that needs our attention, and we need to be engaged.
Absolutely.
The choices made in the next weeks, the next few months, they're going to have huge consequences. Not just for the agency, but for the people USAID helps and for America's place in the world.
Deep divers, as we wrap up this episode, I hope you're leaving here not just informed, but ready to do something. This isn't the end of the conversation. It's just the beginning. Stay curious, stay engaged, and keep diving deeper. The future of USAID and American global leadership might depend on it. Thanks for joining us.